Yay! You're here! Thank you so much for downloading this 3-part video series all about audaciously showing up as you on camera and sharing your message and growing your business. My name is Brittany Hammond and I'm the founder of Untamed Productions and the host of the Brand Interrupted podcast. So if you are here, you are likely a visionary entrepreneur, a healer or therapist, a health or wellness coach, a service-based provider, digital course creator, an artist or an author, anyone who really has a big message and wants to create a movement, big or small, around that message so that they can grow their business and ultimately create change and impact in the world. So after 5 years of running this company and really focusing often on the outer aspects of branding, whether it be signature brand story shoots or photo shoots or design, everything that's kind of like the icing on the cake of the brand, I realized that actually at the heart of my message was learning how to be the face of your brand and deal with the inner stuff that comes along with that. And for me, this kind of breaks down to self-love, self-worth, boundaries, really following your intuition and knowing what is right for you. And I realized that I had a rather holistic approach to branding because the more you love yourself and believe in your mission and what you're doing and show up confidently, the more you can show up for your business, promote it, connect with people, do those collaborations, and sign clients just with ease and grace. And oftentimes in the personal development world, we're all about like, just do it, just go live, write the post, hit publish, and we come from this place of good intention of really wanting to encourage people, but there's a huge piece that I feel that people don't often talk about, and that's actually the downside and the risk of being a leader and that core visibility wound. So I want to touch on 2 of them here because both of them I have not only experienced myself, but I have seen it time and time and time again with my clients and their ability to show up and promote their business and ultimately make an impact and an income. So we live in a world where social media is really this democracy where you no longer have these gatekeepers. If you have a message, you can self-publish a book, you can show up on live stream, create your own podcast, you can share your message and reach people so easily. And this means that we are subject to so much public scrutiny, shame, bullying, all the things that come along with it versus, and even if you were doing things traditionally, you're still open to this, but you kind of have this more of a wall that protects you. We didn't have access to celebrities or authors or business owners the way that we do now, right? You can put up a post and someone can leave a mean comment. And so I really narrowed down the 2 fears. So the first one is the fear of criticism. And this can really stem from, perfectionism and not getting things right, not being accepted for who you are. And this sounds like, okay, I get it, Brittany, like I understand what you're saying, but a lot of this actually comes down to a very codependent behavior that can be developed in childhood. I personally experienced a lot of emotional and narcissistic abuse growing up, and so I didn't have a sense of self. I didn't have a guideline for who I was, so I kind of always acted like a chameleon, and so how that showed up in my business is I would play safe, I would never really share my message, and I could never really take a bold stance for something because I always wanted to be neutral, be safe. But in my heart of hearts, I knew that I was very opinionated and I had something to say and I wanted to say it, but until I healed these deep, core wounds of accepting myself and loving myself, I was too afraid to fully put myself out there, which is probably why I spent the first part of my business really focusing on let me make you and your brand beautiful. We weren't really doing the inner work together. The second core wound is a fear of indifference. not believing that we matter, not believing that we can make an impact, not believing that our story is important enough. And again, this can come back to, whether it be severe trauma or even just micro traumas in our life. It could be early bullying in middle school. It could have been from parents who weren't emotionally there for us. So we then learn like, okay, well, I don't matter, I'm not important. So, no one has to listen to me. Like, it doesn't matter what I have to say. And oftentimes I find that this is why I talk about the importance of brand story, because I've consistently attracted clients that, even though I never explicitly marketed myself that way, I always attracted people that had this inner desire to rebel, to be themselves, to figure out what is their self-expression, to not be fit into a box, and really understand their way of showing up in the world. So those are kind of two core wounds that prevent us from really showing up and being visible and getting our work out in the world. And I want to talk a little bit now just about what your signature brand story is, right? Because I always say your greatest struggle is your biggest gift. So everything that you have experienced is often what leads you to creating that business, to solving that problem, or sometimes I say business isn't always about solving problems. It isn't always about giving a solution, but it's about fulfilling a desire, right? Like, what's the desire? What's the pain point? And how do we balance those two? Okay, so a couple reasons why you need a brand story. And hint, you already have lived your brand story. It's already been written, okay? So before you're thinking like, well, I don't know what my story is. Every experience or challenge or success has led you to where you are today. It's just about connecting the dots and linking your passion, your purpose, and your skill, and how to market that into a business. For me, whenever I am looking to hire someone or work with a mentor or a coach, I always make sure that they fundamentally will understand me. And that is where your story fills the gap, because it's saying, I've been here, I've been through this, you can trust me. Your brand story is going to create that trust and relatability. I'll give you a quick example. When I started working with my voice coach, the reason why I connected with her is because she also was raised by a narcissistic parent, and so her ability to just speak up and express herself literally was robbed of her as a child. And that's exactly what I experienced. So when I went into voice coaching, because I'm going to out myself here, and this isn't really a secret, but I used to freeze up on camera. I used to literally freeze up, not have my words, be a deer in headlights, like not be able to articulate cohesive sentences. That's how hard it was for me to speak. So when I hired her, she helped me literally tap into the psychology of the voice, which is something we'll talk about in a later video. But I trusted her because I knew she'd get why I was blocked, versus if I had just worked with any average voice coach, they might not understand where the core wound is coming from, right? So your brand story is always going to fill in that gap. The second reason why you need a brand story is it shows people what is possible, right? Tony Robbins says success leaves clues. If someone else has done it, you can do it too. Now there's 100 million paths that lead to Rome, and you might have to do things differently, but someone's story, it's proof that it's possible for you. And oftentimes when you want to work with a mentor, you want to be choosing someone who has walked that path, who can lead you. That's another advantage of really developing your brand story, because you're kind of leaving those breadcrumbs for your ideal customer or client. And the third thing is that you become known for your brand story, right? How many public figures, Oprah, Marie Forleo, Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, Brene Brown, Gabrielle Bernstein, all the big, Danielle Laporte, all the big names out there, they have become known for their story. And a lot of times when you're pitching to media, even if it's small media like podcasts or guest blogging, it's about the angle of your story. And just as a little story tip, it's never actually about you. your story paints a picture of what is possible for your ideal customer or client. So if you are questioning, okay, well, what parts of my story are actually relevant to my audience, it's the ones that mirror back to what your ideal client or customer desires or yearns for. So I want to rewind for a sec and take you back to these core fears and wounds, because I want to invite you to shine the light on them. So one of the things that I stand for and has really helped catapult me in my life and business is taking radical self-responsibility for my life. And that means taking or having radical self-honesty. So when we are able to really hold ourselves in that space and shine the light on our biggest fears, it literally is going to be the quickest way to busting through those visibility blocks. So there's a worksheet, as I mentioned, included in this, and I want you to take a look and just expose those fears for what they are. So do you have a fear of shining too bright? Do you have a fear of being too loud? Do you fear that your message isn't important or your mission isn't important, that it doesn't matter? Do you fear so bad being criticized that you would rather not put yourself out there? Really get clear and think of what is the worst thing someone could say to you? For me, I felt like the worst thing someone could say to me was that I wasn't good enough, or that I was a fraud, or I didn't have enough talent. I had a huge wound around that. And once I was aware of that, then I had to just find examples of proof where that actually wasn't true, that I do have talent and my clients are always raving about my work. So even if there's one person that criticizes my work, their opinion doesn't matter. So I want to invite you to take this radical self-responsibility and do the work. This is something that when I work with people, again, we're talking about breaking that codependency. No one but you can get the results. So this really, I hope, is either a wake-up call or a boost to you to know that you can trust yourself to do the work and get the results. So this was video number 1, tackling those visibility wounds and the things that prevent us from fully showing up as ourselves. I invite you to go through the workbook and let me know. Send me an email or comment in the Facebook group and let me know what is your biggest fear so we can shine the light on it and set you free. I look forward to seeing you in video number 2, all about how to craft your core message. Bisous from Paris. Ciao.